The terrain of Varos 6 was deceptive. To the untrained eye, it looked like a serene stretch of peach-colored dust and firm rock outcroppings, but the ground betrayed its own consistency with every fourth step. Beneath a sun that pulsed blue in the sky, the survey team from Earth trudged forward, checking their scanners and muttering about mineral deposits and atmospheric readings. Owen Ashford adjusted the strap on his shoulder, the weight of his sample pack shifting awkwardly. 6 weeks out here, and the only thing we've discovered is how bad this place smells after sundown. Complain less, find more, came a flat reply from his comms. Ziva Ammon, the expedition's geologist, was perched on a ledge 20 feet above him, analyzing a seam of glittering ore with her handheld spectrometer. This seems more promising than the last one. Get up here. Owen sighed and began his climb up the slope. The incline wasn't too steep, but the dust made it slick. He reached for a rock that gave way the moment he put weight on it. His right foot caught a shallow divot, tilted sharply inward and twisted with a sickening crunch. He hit the ground hard on his side, gritting his teeth as pain shot from his ankle up to his knee. His breath hissed through clenched teeth, and he stayed there for a moment, fists digging into the sand. Ziva's voice crackled through, sharper now. "Owen, you all right?" He sat up slowly, trying to keep pressure off his leg. "Nope, twisted it, maybe worse. Hold position, I'm coming down." From the ridge above, a glint caught the attention of a pair of unblinking eyes. Observer 6, an autonomous field unit of the Xelari Consortium, remained perfectly still in its cloaked position. It had been assigned to monitor the human team's behavior under duress, part of a broader study on sapient species adaptability. The humans were unpredictable, inefficient, and prone to emotional instability, yet the consortium could not ignore their recent planetary expansion. Observer 6 watched as Owen tested his foot. He winced, cursed under his breath, then rolled up his pant leg to check for swelling. The ankle was already ballooning. Ziva reached him seconds later, squatting beside him. "That looks bad," she said. "Yeah, think I heard something crack." "Great, we're at least 15 miles from the rover. Not hobbling 15 miles, I'll call it in, sit tight." As Ziva radioed for assistance, Owen lay back against a rock and stared at the sky. His breathing was shallow and sweat dotted his forehead despite the cool breeze. The pain was steady, not the sharp burst of a sprain. He knew it wasn't good. Back at their mobile base, the medic, Relin and Electon assigned through the Earth Consortium Integration Program, listened to the transmission with mild concern. Possible fracture. Human male, approximately 90 kilograms. Understood. Relin prepared the field rover and departed immediately. Meanwhile, Observer 6 tracked Ziva and Owen from a distance, recording every grimace, every motion. It was puzzled. Injury among Xelari meant immediate immobilization and treatment. The idea of continuing to function with an incapacitated limb bordered on madness, but Owen wasn't finished. When Ziva stood to scan the surroundings for the incoming rover, he slowly pushed himself upright. The pain flared again, sharp and nauseating. Still, he tested the foot, putting the barest amount of weight on it. "Are you kidding?" Ziva whirled around. "Sit down before you make it worse." "It's not like I'm going to sprint back to base," Owen muttered. "You're not going to walk at all, wait for Relin. Feels better if I keep it moving, just a little." Ziva stared. "That's not how injuries work. Sometimes it helps, keeps it from stiffening up." Observer 6 noted this with an internal query ping. The human was deliberating movement not out of necessity but by choice. The pain signals were evident, yet he showed intent to proceed. That was not expected. Relin arrived 10 minutes later. He stepped out of the rover, his tall frame unfolding like a mechanical tower. His pupils dilated as he scanned Owen's leg. "That ankle is compromised. You should not be upright." "Tell him that," Ziva muttered. Relin guided Owen into the back of the rover with practiced care. Despite the help, Owen grunted in pain, his face pale now. Relin's scanner beeped twice. "No visible fracture on standard imaging, but internal damage is likely. We'll immobilize and do a full scan at base." Observer 6 followed the rover at a distance, cloaked in low-frequency distortion. It transmitted its live feedback to the Xelari research vessel orbiting Varos 6. Inside the clean, minimal medbay, Owen lay with his leg elevated, a brace wrapped tightly around his ankle. Rellen's second scan confirmed a high-grade ligament tear and a possible hairline fracture. "You'll need to keep off it for at least 8 weeks, Rellen said. "Human connective tissue does not recover quickly under strain." 8 weeks, Owen groaned. "Minimum. We will begin cold therapy now." Owen's tolerance to pain, Rellen noted, remained consistently high. His vitals spiked only when the limb was manipulated. Otherwise, he lay still, only occasionally muttering about the missed terrain data. The base commander, Marla Keene, stopped by later that evening. "You're grounded," she said, arms crossed. "And before you ask, no, you can't supervise the next survey from a rover seat." "Didn't even get a good rock sample out of it," Owen muttered. 2 days passed. Owen's ankle remained swollen, but the pain had decreased marginally. He used crutches to move around the base's narrow corridors, though Rellen insisted he limit movement to essential trips. Ziva visited often, sometimes to check on him, sometimes to steal protein bars from his ration drawer. One afternoon, she found him halfway through the hallway, bracing himself on the wall. "You're not supposed to be up. I'm going stir-crazy." "You'll go bone crazy if you tear that thing worse. I'm being careful." "Nah, you're being stubborn." Observer 6 logged the exchange. The female expressed concern but not fear. The male acknowledged pain but sought autonomy. This combination was statistically rare among other sapient species. The following week, a minor tremor shook the surface. The base systems triggered a lockdown, and all personnel were instructed to evacuate the outer survey modules. Owen, still on crutches, ignored the order. One of the modules held the data core from the last terrain map upload. If it wasn't secured, days of work would be lost. He made his way there, sweat slicking his neck despite the cool air. Every step sent a dull throb up his leg, but he kept going. He reached the module just as a second tremor hit. The door slammed shut behind him. He grabbed the data core, turned and slipped. His crutch skidded and he fell, landing hard on his injured ankle. The pain was blinding. He didn't scream, but his vision blurred. He curled inward, clutching his leg. 2 minutes passed before the tremor ended. The door released with a hiss. Ziva burst in, followed by Rellen. "Owen." He didn't answer. Rellen scanned him immediately. "Swelling has increased. Ligament strain has worsened. There may now be a complete tear." Ziva knelt beside him. "You idiot, I told you to stay put." Owen closed his eyes. "Had to get the core. We could have replaced the data." Not the time it took. Back in the medbay, Rellen adjusted the brace and administered a localized pain reliever. A new scan confirmed a complete tear of the atful one of the key stabilizing ligaments in the human ankle. Surgery was not an option here on Varos 6. He would need to be evacuated to the orbital facility. Observer 6 recorded every moment. The human had willingly worsened his injury for the sake of data preservation. This exceeded the consortium's expectations for pain tolerance and behavioral drive. 2 days later, Owen was airlifted aboard the orbital medical station. There, human physicians performed a minimally invasive repair. He was instructed to remain off the ankle entirely for 6 weeks, followed by a gradual 2-week rehabilitation phase. Back on Varos 6, Ziva received a message from Owen's med team. "Surgery successful. He's already asking for terrain updates." She shook her head and looked out over the cliffs. Behind her, Observer 6 remained hidden, still recording. The consortium would need to revise its entire psychological model for human endurance. The first thing Owen noticed when he woke up wasn't pain, it was the noise. A soft, rhythmic chirping that echoed faintly off the curved ceiling panels of the orbital med station. It sounded like someone had taught a wind chime to speak Morse code. He blinked against the ambient glow. The lights were set to dawn mode, casting everything in a pale gold haze that made his surroundings feel almost too clean. The bed beneath him adjusted automatically as he shifted, cradling his leg in a gravity-neutral sling. A translucent screen hovered near his head, flickering to life. A face appeared oval, with skin like polished amethyst and 3 eyes that blinked asynchronously. "You have regained consciousness," said the alien. "Discomfort level, moderate. Owen replied, surprised to hear his voice come out raspier than expected. Where's the annoying beeping coming from? The alien rotated its head slightly, as though calibrating the question. That sound is not medically related. It is the Xelari hydration plant's environmental cycling. We are sharing airspace with their horticultural division. Right. Nothing says recovery like botanical Morse code. The alien's expression didn't change. You may call me Tarsal. I am the attending from the interspecies orthopedic unit. Your tendon graft has stabilized and the swelling is decreasing with an acceptable variance. Neat, Owen said. Are you the one who poked holes in my ankle? No, that was Dr. Harrow, human. I observed. Of course you did. Tarsal tilted a limb, possibly an arm, toward the hovering screen. A new image appeared, a rotating 3D model of Owen's ankle, complete with color-coded tendons and a faint yellow line where the graft now sat. You chose to move across uneven terrain with a structurally unsound joint, Tarsal said. This behavior is not commonly observed among other sapients. What was your objective? Owen exhaled through his nose. The data core. We were mapping a mineral shelf. If it got corrupted in the tremor, we'd lose 4 days of geo-positioning. The preservation of information superseded your physical integrity. Didn't feel like a choice. Tarsal's 3 eyes blinked one after the other, like a slow ripple across still water. Your central nervous system signaled pain, yet your motor functions continued. Were you under the influence of cognitive inhibitors? Nope. Then what was the rationale? I figured I'd already messed it up, Owen said, adjusting the sling slightly. Couldn't exactly uninjure it by sitting down. There was a pause. Tarsal made a faint sound, almost like a throat click, but from somewhere behind its jawline. I would like to request permission to submit your behavioral pattern to the Xelari Adaptation Council, Tarsal said. They believe our models of human pain thresholds may be incomplete. Owen closed his eyes for a moment. Are you telling me there's an alien committee trying to understand why humans do dumb things while injured? Precisely. Great. That's gonna look stellar on my personnel file. 3 hours later, Owen was wheeled into the rehab wing, accompanied by a silent drone that hummed softly as it escorted him down the corridor. The walls here were coated in a soft matte material that absorbed footsteps. There were no windows, but the lighting simulated a slow afternoon. Waiting for him was a short, insectoid figure with a segmented torso and 2 limbs that clicked against a portable console. Its exoskeleton reflected faint green hues, like oxidized copper. You are the one with the ankle, it said, guilty. I am Soren. I will manage your locomotion retraining. Human joints are inefficient, but your species insists on using them. We will work within those parameters. Appreciated. Soren rotated its console. Your initial session will involve weight distribution analysis and balance correction. You will not enjoy it. I wasn't expecting a spa day. Soren handed him a stabilization frame. Walk to the end of the hall. Do not favor the leg. Favoring causes misalignment. Misalignment causes compensation. Compensation causes further injury. Got it. Walk stupid now, suffer less later. That is not inaccurate. Owen gripped the frame and took a step. The brace on his ankle supported the joint, but every centimeter of movement sent a dull, threatening ache up his calf. He grit his teeth and took another step. Soren made no comment, simply adjusted the console as data streamed in. By the time he reached the end of the hallway, Owen's shirt clung to his back. He stopped and leaned on the frame, breathing heavily. Soren tapped something. You exhibit elevated endorphin release despite visible strain, possibly a coping mechanism. Might just be stubbornness, Owen muttered. That is a neurological category we have not yet isolated. The next day, Owen was introduced to an observation deck where individuals from various species could study interspecies rehabilitation methods. It looked like a gallery seats arranged in quiet rows, species of all shapes and colors watching from behind transparent panels. Tarsal stood next to him. You are being used as a case study. Please behave in a statistically relevant manner. No pressure, Owen said. The session began with a treadmill calibrated to simulate minor terrain shifts. Soren guided him onto it, then stepped back. You will walk at your own pace. Lateral instability will be monitored. Do not fall. Wasn't planning to. As the treadmill activated, the platform moved beneath Owen's feet with subtle, randomized angles. He focused on keeping his footfalls even. A sharp motion to the left made him stagger, but he caught himself on the frame. From the gallery, a low murmur rose, chittering, clicking, and a series of flute-like tones. "They are confused," Tarsal said. "You are not displaying avoidance behavior. I'm trying to get better. They do not understand that concept as you mean it. Among many species, injury is a halting point, recovery is passive, your effort is active." "Yeah, well, I'd like to walk normally again before I'm 80, thanks." The treadmill continued. A minute passed, then 3. Owen's left leg burned, his right ankle throbbed, but he didn't stop. "Why do you not request termination of the session?" Tarsal asked. "Because this is part of it. This is the price." "Of what outcome?" Owen glanced at him. "Getting back to work." The gallery fell silent. Later that evening, Tarsal convened a small council aboard the station. 3 other Xelari, 2 Electon, and a single Phyrexian with a gelatinous midsection attended via projection. "We have verified that the human subject experiences consistent pain," Tarsal said. "Yet he continues physical effort without external reward. This contradicts our existing behavioral models," the Phyrexian rippled. "Is it possible he is defective? No, he is typical of his species." "Their logic pathways must be chaotic," said one of the Electons. "They are not," Tarsal replied. "They prioritize function over comfort." "It is not madness, it is a form of strategic discomfort," the Phyrexian pulsed again. "They injure themselves further to avoid larger disruption." "Correct. This is dangerous," said the other Electon. "Such behavior could destabilize diplomatic protocols." "Their threshold for consequence is erratic." Tarsal's eyes blinked in a cascade. "Or it is simply different." Back in his recovery pod, Owen soaked his ankle in a mineral bath. The brace was off for the night, and he used the downtime to stretch his toes, which still felt like they were made of rubber bands and gravel. A nurse human this time brought in a hydration pouch and set it quietly by his side. "You've got fans," she said. Owen raised an eyebrow. "The Xelari." One of them asked if your species uses limb pain to reach enlightenment. "I'll be sure to let them know next time I stub my toe." She chuckled and left. Owen looked out through the viewport. The stars outside remained still, unmoved by his progress. He flexed his foot gently. It hurt. Of course it did, but it moved, and that, for now, was enough. The rehabilitation chamber smelled faintly of citrus and ionized metal, a combination Owen had mentally filed under galactic gym locker. He was seated on a low bench, legs stretched forward, one in a loose compression wrap, the other bearing his full weight again for the first time in weeks. A translucent screen floated beside him, displaying a countdown in gentle green digits. Soren stood nearby, antennae angled forward. "Begin when the timer reaches 0. The surface incline will shift every 7 seconds. Notify me if you lose balance." "I won't," Owen said, adjusting the strap across his chest, "but thanks for the vote of confidence." "There is no voting, only data." The countdown reached 0 with a soft chime. Owen stepped onto the platform, which looked like a treadmill had fused with a small tectonic plate. As he walked, it bucked in subtle lateral waves. He gripped the side rails briefly, then released them. A group of observers had silently gathered behind the transparent wall again, as they had for several sessions now. Their shapes varied, some tall, some gelatinous, one that resembled a heap of moss with eyes. None of them spoke. Soren tapped at the console. "Your stride is uneven. Left hip is overcompensating. Probably because my right ankle's still annoyed I dragged it across a rock field. Pain is not a justification, it is a condition." "That's very poetic. You should put it on a mug." Soren paused. "Explain." "Never mind." The platform jolted slightly, and Owen's foot rolled inward. He caught himself, adjusted, and continued walking. Behind the wall, one of the moss creatures leaned forward. Another observer, a Xelari with a long neck and skin like matte glass, pressed a panel and recorded a note in their native script, angular and glowing. Soren's tone remained flat. "Your body attempts to protect the injury by altering muscle memory." This is inefficient. Yeah, well, tell that to my subconscious. Your subconscious does not listen to reason, neither did I, apparently. Soren made no reply. After 15 minutes, the platform slowed and leveled. Owen stepped off, sweat clinging to his back. He winced slightly as he straightened, then nodded at the panel. Better than yesterday. You are marginally less unstable. I'll take that as a compliment. You should not. Owen sat back on the bench, breathing steadily. His shirt clung to him, but his leg held steady under him. The brace had been reduced to a low-profile support wrap. He ditched the crutches 3 days ago. Soren adjusted the console again. You may proceed to the next tier of mobility testing tomorrow. Finally. You will not enjoy it. Owen glanced at the gallery of aliens. They gonna keep watching until the behavioral study concludes. Great, no pressure. Soren folded the console shut. Pressure is irrelevant. Performance is the metric. Later that day, a Xelari named Vhen approached him in the communal dining area. Vhen's species communicated largely through modulated tones, but had adopted a vocal interface for human interaction. It made them sound like a vibraphone with opinions. Your locomotion methods are inefficient, Vhen said, settling into a low hover beside Owen's table. You're not wrong, Owen said, picking at the corner of a ration bar, but I'm getting there. Why do you continue before full restoration? Most species would enter protective stasis. Because if I wait for perfection, I won't get anything done. Vhen's tones deepened. You risk further compromise. I reduce the risk by knowing my limits. I push them anyway, but I don't ignore them. That is contradictory. It's called being human. Vhen hovered in silence for a moment, then emitted a tone that translated roughly as uncertainty. Owen leaned back. You want to know why I didn't stop walking when I should have, why I kept doing rehab even when it hurt, why I didn't just sit still and let technology do the recovery for me? Yes, because we're not built for stasis. We adapt by acting, not waiting. It's messy, and yeah, sometimes we make things worse before we make them better. But we don't stop just because it hurts. We stop when it's done. Vhen emitted a soft harmonic pulse that registered as contemplation. Your species is functionally reckless, probably. But we're still standing. That evening, Owen returned to his medical suite. The gravity was dialed slightly lower than standard, easing the strain on his healing leg. He removed the wrap, checked the skin for irritation, and began his prescribed range of motion exercises. Each movement was deliberate: a slow flex of the foot, a gentle rotation of the ankle, a controlled extension of the leg. The ache was still there, but it had changed. It was no longer sharp or warning. It was the sensation of muscle remembering. He finished the routine, applied the cooling gel, and lay back on the bed. The ceiling above showed a projection of stars' real-time feed from the station's upper hull. He watched as one streaked slowly past. The following morning, he was cleared for the final assessment. It took place in the kinetic chamber, a variable environment capable of simulating terrain, gravity, and incline with granular precision. The observers returned, this time joined by a senior Xelari analyst who had traveled from a nearby research vessel to witness the evaluation firsthand. Soren met him at the entrance. You will traverse a randomized path of uneven surfaces, no support tools, no external stabilization. You may stop at any time. I won't need to. Soren handed him a small module. If your pain exceeds functional threshold, press this. The test will end. Owen clipped it to his waistband without comment. The chamber's floor shifted as he stepped inside. Sections rose and fell beneath his feet. Loose panels tilted under his weight. He adjusted, recalibrated, and kept moving forward. The pain was a dull pressure, now a reminder, not a warning. Midway through, the ground simulated a rapid lateral shift. His foot landed awkwardly, and he stumbled. For a moment, everything paused. The gallery held its breath. Owen exhaled, planted his foot again, and continued forward. When he reached the end of the chamber, the floor leveled. A soft chime indicated completion. Soren entered moments later, scanning the results. You performed with an acceptable variance, the insectoid said. Owen raised an eyebrow. That's it, no confetti, you did not fall. That is sufficient. Vhen approached from behind the gallery screen. Your recovery was statistically improbable, but not impossible. No, Owen nodded. Then I'm done here. Soren closed the console. You may return to your planetary assignment. Your limb stability is within operational range. You remain inefficient but functional. Story of my life. As Owen packed his minimal belongings brace, wrap, a single ration bar he hadn't eaten, he paused beside the viewing panel. The gallery was empty now. Only Tarsal remained, observing quietly. I take it the council got what they needed. They did. And they have revised their model. Human recovery behavior is now classified as deliberate irrational persistence. Owen laughed. Sounds about right. Tarsal inclined its head. Your actions remain incomprehensible to many of us. That's all right. You don't have to understand it to respect it. Tarsal blinked once, slowly. Perhaps. He left the station via a transport pod that arced silently toward Varos 6. The return trip was unremarkable. The surface awaited, dust and rock and hard ground, but he was ready. When he stepped out onto the landing platform, his foot met the soil with steady weight. No brace. No hesitation, just motion. Ziva was waiting near the outpost entrance, one eyebrow raised. You cleared and calibrated. She handed him a data pad. Good, we've got another tremor zone to map. Owen took it. Lead the way. And this time he walked without pain.